What's up, you guys, and welcome to another episode of the Variety Views. I'm your host, the Variety Vendor, joined by.
The stage man, also known as Muhammad. What's up? You know, I don't really use my real name, but don't wear it out.
Yeah,
That's so
like
funny.
somebody's gonna look you up, dude.
Damn
So
it.
okay, so we're gonna rebook the 25th anniversary of Raw, which will probably air on the 22nd of January 2018. It didn't make any sense because, dude, like, we were talking about this that the first episode aired in the 11th of January. It's like, why the fuck is it in the 22nd?
Mm-hmm.
And like, remember, yeah, like you even said this, like in like '07, where the 15th anniversary was on December.
Yeah, it happened in December, and it was like the go home show to Armageddon, and I
Shit.
was like, the fuck.
I'm the boogeyman, and I'm here to see if I can join the act. Yeah, I really enjoyed that episode. Okay, so what do you have planned for the 25th anniversary?
So are we going segment by segment, or are we just going like
I
let's say
good.
my whole booking of the whole show?
Yeah, the whole thing, dude. Like, go balls to the wall.
All right, if you're gonna spend the next some odd minutes basically just me booking stuff, you better stay awake.
I'll
But
try.
I'm just probably gonna tell you like the first few parts of the show, and you probably give your first few parts of the show, and we'll go on from there.
Nah, dude,
I
it's
don't
it's
want.
gonna be it's gonna be way too convoluted, dude. Everybody's gonna hear us is like gonna be like, okay, segment one is like this, and Eddie's segment he says that, and this and that and that, and then it's just gonna be like, okay, what's the entire show? So might as well
Okay.
just go ahead and just say your whole show, and then I'll go from there.
Yeah. So first start off with before we the show begins and stuff like that. I would have like an opening intro of 25 years of Raw. The show highlights and all this kind of stuff, and there's all this other shit, and you do the pyro and all this other stuff. I don't even think they're gonna do pyro, but you know what? Just for one night only, you may probably do that. They do the old, Raw intro from like from let's say 93, 94, and maybe do it. The way I would do it is like I'll do like a 1 minute intro theme song, but you would splice in like the 93, 95, and then the Attitude Era version, the Ruthless Aggression version,
Yeah,
all this kind of thing.
the
One into one
different
thing.
intros mashed up, right?
Yeah, you know. Um, but I would do that, and I would, in terms of like the set, I know we're just doing fantasy booking here, but I'll make the set like a combination of like all the raw sets in one. You know what I mean? Like I would have like the old Titantron from like the Attitude Era. No, actually no. I would have like
Well,
that.
remember
The
remember
the
there's gonna be two sets. There's gonna be two arenas.
yeah. Yeah, so I'd maybe do maybe the one in the Manhattan Center. I'll do like the one in the back in the day, like in '93 to pre-Attitude Era version. So I would make it a raw, basically like that. And also when they do the intros for that one, I'll have the siren with it too. So that's that. And then when you go into the one in the Brooklyn in the Barclays Center, I would do like a mix of some of the old raw sets. I would have like that slanted square like did the Raw in '02.
Mm-hmm.
And then some of the LED parts on the side like they did in the 2011 kind of thing. And then like the raw Titantron set that they use now, but I use it as a header. Just all the combinations into one, and then maybe you have like the Attitude Era kind of stuff on the side. Just make it more like a combination of like all the raw sets in one.
A
It
tribute.
may look a bit confusing, but that's the way I would do it.
Mm-hmm.
And I would first start off with the show with Vince McMahon opening Raw, wearing like the old suit from like, what he was wearing back in the 90s, introducing Raw and all this other shit. And randomly we get Undertaker appearing, right? And Undertaker shows up he cuts a promo and makes his announcement for the Hall of Fame. And, all this other shit. He said he's gonna, maybe at one point he will actually be at WrestleMania, but he will make it into the WWE Hall of Fame. And then out comes he calls out Roman Reigns, right? Because he's the guy that retired him and stuff like that. And you know, I know it would be weird for me to actually do this, but they confront with each other, and then um, they actually do like kind of a respect thing, so to say. And I know you're thinking like, why would Taker and Reigns do like a respect kind of thing, like they shake hands or whatever, give props to each other when we're talking shit. Uh, I wouldn't be saying talking shit like the way Lesnar was been doing when he broke the streak, but they was been talking about ending the Undertaker streak or whatever. But you have a little confrontation, but in the end, you do the respect thing, and that before they advertise this show, they actually advertised that the main event of the show would be Miz defending the Intercontinental title against Roman Reigns in the main event with a special guest referee that we'll figure out later on in the show. So that's that, and it's like a no DQ match kind of thing. So that's basically the main event. So that's something to look into throughout the show. So that's going to be the main event. The first match, we actually have a Raw Tag Team title match, which is Rollins and Ambrose taking on the Revival, and Rollins and Ambrose wins. In a competitive 15-20 minute match, and that will be that. Then we get a backstage segment with Kurt Angle like talking on the phone or whatever, like he usually does, and then randomly Edge and Christian shows up, and then they talk about reminisce on old times. They're about to do like a 5 second pose, and then Sheamus and Cesaro like interrupts them, right, and does their own 5 second pose, with the whole fusion kind of thing, and then Edge and Christian makes fun of them and stuff like that, and then Kurt Angle books a match tonight, saying, you know what, man, just for ruining this whole shit, man. Cesaro, you're gonna have a one-on-one with Braun Strowman, and that's gonna be a match later on for the show. Then we get to the second match of the show, which is Sasha Banks and a mystery partner taking on SmackDown's Carmella and Tamina. So throughout the whole show, they're actually having Raw and SmackDown competitors competing against each other, right? So that's basically something that we do on the show, and her mystery partner would be Lita. I would have Sasha and Lita taking on Carmella and Tamina, and the baby faces win, and that's a cool moment. And then we get Elias coming out to the ring, and he sings his song as usual. And then he gets interrupted by the Honky Tonk Man. And they both have they both diss each other. They say they're a better player, and then it goes into a brawl, and then Honky Tonk Man hits the guitar on Elias, and has a celebratory moment, and there's that. Then we get to another backstage segment with Daniel Bryan. It is in a backstage segment with Kurt Angle, and it says that as SmackDown is competing on Raw against Raw here tonight, and they book a few matches on the show. They book a couple of somewhat big matches. You do Randy Orton taking on Finn Balor. You do Samoa Joe taking on Shinsuke Nakamura. Just a couple of big matches that you can do. Then throughout the whole show, they do Roman Reigns and Miz, preparing for the main event. Miz talks to his Mr. Raj, and Reigns talks to the Shield, and you do all that kind of stuff. Then we get to the Orton Finn Balor match. They have a competitive match, and then in the end, Finn Balor wins. But I would not have him win with the coup de grace, but I would have it where Randy goes for the RKO. He counters it into like a roll up kind of thing, and Randy Orton's shocked. Finn Balor wins, and then on with that. Just a competitive 15-minute match. Then we got Brock Lesnar and Paul Heyman coming out. Cutting a promo about their times on Raw, and how Brock Lesnar is the dominant, the Universal Champion, all this other shit. And then he addresses his opponent to Finn Balor, who that's who I would book for his Royal Rumble opponent. And then Finn Balor is on Titantron saying that, he teases about bringing the Demon to the Royal Rumble match and to the Royal Rumble against Lesnar. So that's that. And then you get to the second Raw vs SmackDown match, so to say, with Shinsuke Nakamura taking on Samoa Joe, and they have a match, and then it ends in a DQ when Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn makes an interference. So around this time, when I actually have Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn have issues with Shinsuke like that, like kind of they're doing right now, but take it to the next level. And then it causes a DQ, and then you have all three guys, Joe, Zayn, and Owens, beating the shit out of Shinsuke. And then all of a sudden, the Dudleys show up. They make their return, and then they help Shinsuke Nakamura, and Shinsuke hits the Kinshasa, on Owens and Zayn or whatever, and then all the heels just, run away and all this. And then these do the whole celebration kind of thing. So that's that. So we, did a couple of matches here or there, and, a couple of cool moments, nostalgia moments, stuff like that. Throughout the show, maybe during commercial break, they'll show highlights of, of Raw, great moments and stuff like that. And so, yeah, so that is what the 10th thing we've done on the show already. These segments I actually do it pretty quick. Then you get to Braun Strowman versus Cesaro. Braun Strowman wins. There's that. You kind of need a buffer kind of thing. And then you get to another backstage segment with Gallows and Anderson, doing their own thing, and then out comes AJ Styles. AJ Styles, talking to the club and, talking about their stuff, and then out of nowhere, Finn Balor shows up too. This would be like somewhat like after their match, or after their match he had with Orton. It's kind of tired and just, whatever. You do the whole too sweet thing, and then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, you have Nash, Scott Hall, Shawn Michaels, and X-Pac showing up and doing their own too sweet kind of thing, and and that kind of sort of thing. You have like the Bullet Club taking on with the Click, and they all do their too sweet thing, that sort of thing. So yeah, then this is one of the segments I actually. I didn't know I was going to actually do this kind of segment, but I was thinking to myself, I need to involve Triple H and Stephanie McMahon because they're obviously going to be a part of the show anyways. So Triple H and Steph comes up. And obviously I would actually make Triple H a hero. I mean, I know he's doing live events and house shows as a babyface, but you know what? Stephanie McMahon and Triple H will always be heels and all this other stuff. But this, to me, I would actually set this up for a future WrestleMania match, And I have them, they cut a promo talking about, we made Raw and all this other shit, and they reminisce about the Authority days and all this kind of stuff. And then Triple H makes this line about, the Authority will always be together in the system and all this other stuff. And randomly out comes Bray Wyatt, and the crowd is going, shocked or whatever. They do their stare down, the crowd goes nuts. And Triple H kind of smirks at him a little bit. And then out of nowhere, he hits the Sister Abigail, and then basically kind of makes his, I guess, a full babyface turn kind of thing on Triple H. He mentions about how he's, down with the machine and all this other stuff, and this can be a precursor to what they do for their match at Mania, because that's what I would actually book, Wyatt and Triple H, and that would be that, and it's a cool moment. Then you have a buffer cruiserweight title match with Enzo Amore taking on Rich Swann. Enzo Amore wins. Some of these buffer matches I would take place, some of them in the Hammerstein Ballroom. You know what I mean? And some of the stars some of the segments I would actually have them be in the Manhattan Center as well, but they were probably pre-tapes. So yeah, you can work both ways. I don't know how far the distance is from Manhattan to Brooklyn, but yeah, that's kind of a different story for a different time. And then we get to another a women's match. You get Becky Lynch taking on Nia Jax with Alexa Bliss, in her corner, and Bayley's on commentary. Bayley and Alexa Bliss, they have their feud going into the Royal Rumble or something like that, and Becky Lynch wins in a fluky fashion, and then Nia and Alexa Bliss beats her up, and randomly out comes Sasha Banks and Charlotte. You know, they help her out, and they do their whole. After that, they actually do their whole four horsewomen kind of thing. This is a Raw moment. The four horsemen are back, and all this other stuff. So I guess that's kind of a cool filler moment. And then we get to the last. I guess one of the last segments before the main event. You have Jinder Mahal showing up, and he's ashamed that he's the W. He comes out cutting a promo, and I would do this. This would be like the last segment you would see in the Manhattan Center, because I think most of the big stuff in the main event I would do it in the Barclays Center, and I would have Jinder Mahal cuts a promo saying that he's a WWE champion, and he feels like he's not being featured as much in this 25th edition of Monday Night Raw and all this other stuff, and then Bobby Roode shows up, because how the Royal Rumble pay-per-views are. Sometimes you would have those filler title matches, and I guess filler title match, I would do, Roode and Jinder. It may not be the most impressive, most exciting match ever, but as a filler title match for the Royal Rumble, it's whatever at this point. But Roode cuts a promo and does his glorious entrance and says, he does the usual thing. At the Royal Rumble, I'm gonna take your title and it's gonna be glorious. All this other shit. And then we get to the main event, which is the for the IC title, and it's Reigns and Miz for the belt and the special guest referee. And you're thinking, like, you have all these big names or whatever, but you never really notice that Cena hasn't really showed up on the show. How can there be a Raw Celebration show without Cena? And out comes Cena, and he becomes the special guest referee. The guy who actually has a little history with Miz and Reigns, and there's a bit of story behind that as well. Not him being the referee, but they have past stories with Miz and Reigns and stuff like that. And I would actually book this match in a way it's like very overbooked, Attitude Era, chaos-esque kind of thing. You have a competitive match in the beginning. Miz does this thing. Roman makes a comeback. The Miz Taraj, interferes, and then the Shield shows up and helps helps even the odds and stuff like that, and all this other stuff. And then in the end, Roman Reigns pins Miz and becomes the Intercontinental Champion. And I think the Shield helping out Roman Reigns, and I've noticed this too since Reigns feuding with Miz, in a way he's been getting a bit cheered, and him being aligned with the Shield would actually get Reigns cheered. And I think with this kind of match, I think the fans in Brooklyn would actually cheer Reigns a bit more, so to say. And then he wins the Intercontinental title. It's a big moment. The Shield celebrates. Cena raises his hands, stuff like that. And then, I would actually do a cool, kind of a cool moment where you have all the other legends and talents and stuff like that come to the ring, and they celebrate. Miz and Miz Taraj are just basically down and out and stuff like that, and then they're celebrating, and then out comes Stone Cold Steve Austin with a beer truck, and the place goes nuts. And he's basically giving out the beer to everybody. Everybody's having a beer, drinking beer and stuff like that. And then the Miz just goes up to Austin and shouts to him, yells at him like, "Hey, this is my moment. This is my moment." And then Austin hits one stunner on the Miz, and the crowd goes nuts. And basically we end off the show with basically Austin doing the beer thing with the Shield and Cena and all the other legends and stuff like that. And that's how I would end Raw. And that would be my 25th anniversary show. So, what are your thoughts on that?
Awesome. I really like the stuff that you did with laying the match out with Bray and Triple H. And I like the stuff with with the women that you would do later on with Lita and all the women, the female legends. And also, Cesaro and Braun Strowman sounds like a very interesting match. I would really look forward to a match between those two. And I like the ending with Stone Cold Although I don't know if if they would be allowed to spray beer, all the way to the crowd, with the beer truck, if it's PG. But
But who cares, man? I
yeah,
think they would allow it. Yeah, they would allow it. Come on. They allowed Austin drinking beer at WrestleMania 32. Come on.
yeah, him drinking it is fine, but him like spraying it all to the audience, like imagine like a 6-year-old getting drunk. It's like, Dad, what the hell's going on with me? I'm feeling tipsy.
No, like they're not, they're not gonna.
It's like imagine that. Little Timmy in the front row getting drunk while wearing a John Cena hat. I hate this shit.
Oh yeah.
Okay, so
Yeah.
my 25th anniversary of Raw would be a little bit different. Not too in depth because I don't think that way. With the whole stage and all of that, but maybe close to what you were saying, where it's like a tribute to the old Raw sets, and also doing the tributes and the video packages and everything. And also, I think it would be great to do also a roll call for all the legends that have passed. Of course, not Chris Benoit, but everybody else. Like Eddie Guerrero and Mr. Perfect and Rick Rude, all those guys that made very important impacts on Raw. We would start off in the I guess in the it's not in the Hammerstein Ballroom. It's gonna be in the Manhattan Center.
Mhm.
So if they're gonna do that, then the first hour I would let it be in there, and then from then on you would do it in the Barclays. So I would let it be a fun show, but at the same time, I would let it be a little bit crammed up with matches the first hour, but let the segments be in the Barclays. First match would be Johnny Gargano defeating Tozawa. I would call up Johnny Gargano to 205 Live, beating Tozawa to become number one contender for the Cruiserweight title. Enzo Amore is doing commentary while this is going on. Then we would do a Beat the Clock challenge with the winner getting the number 30 spot for the Royal Rumble. Matt Hardy would defeat Damien Demento, who was in the first episode of Raw. I think he lost to The Undertaker in the main event. Matt Hardy beats him in like under 6 minutes. Jason Jordan beats Apollo Crews in under 5. I think that would be a fun little match going on there. Elias would defeat the person that was in the first match of the first Raw, Coco Beware. And also you'd have Finn Balor defeating Kurt Hawkins under 3 minutes, and Bray Wyatt defeating Rhino in under 2 minutes. I think that would be a fun match to see, Rhino and Bray Wyatt. The ending being like Rhino going for the gore, and Bray Wyatt catches him into Sister Abigail, and beats him in like under 2 minutes. At the end of that, that part of the show, Undertaker would come out and says like how much the Manhattan Center means to him, and or instead of him coming out, it can be like on a Titantron or something like that. Him talking about how much this place means to him and how much Raw means to him, and he has a very important announcement to make later on in the night. Then we go to the Barclays. First thing, we would have Drew Gulak coming out, and he has an open challenge. And Enzo Amore is on the Titantron saying like, who is gonna face the greatest wrestler in WWE right now, the greatest technician, Drew Gulak, and with one hell of a PowerPoint presentation. And Drew Gulak, there's nobody that wants to face Drew Gulak, so he's like, okay, instead we're gonna have this entire segment be all about my PowerPoint presentation. He goes to click to the Titantron, it doesn't work, and then the lights would go out, and the Titantron, and I know this is something that you would probably mark out too. Booyaka, booyaka, 619. And then Rey Mysterio comes out, and he just jumps out of does his old entrance, coming out of a platform on the side of the stage. And Rey Mysterio runs to the ring. Drew Gulak tries to hit him with his sign. Rey Mysterio ducks, jumps off from one side to the other with a crossbody, hits the 619, and Drew Gulak, goes retreating. Rey Mysterio returns. After that, we would have Miz TV. Miz TV, the Miz would come out and he says that Curtis Axel is not here today, but instead I've found a suitable replacement. Somebody that can really watch my back. And out comes Kevin Nash. He's got his sunglasses and his suit, and he's like, trying to keep his composure. Like maybe, I don't know, maybe he's drunk or something like that. He stands behind the Miz, and it's like he's pretty much the bodyguard of the Miz. And the Miz says like, here's my guest. Shawn Michaels comes out. Shawn Michaels comes out. They would have a little segment, a little back and forth, and Nash is no selling the whole thing. Like every time the camera would go to his face, and he's got this this very no expression look on his face, and his sunglasses not helping at all. So that they would have this little spat, and it would end with Shawn Michaels pointing at Miz and just berating him, and Miz is like looking at Nash, is like, are you gonna let him talk to me that way? And Nash is like, no expression. And then finally Shawn Michaels kicks him in the face, and then he goes to high five Nash, and Nash has his hand up ready, and they walk away. And Miz is like so pissed off. You go on to the next match, and this is a match that would be it would be announced a few weeks prior, and it's Braun Strowman versus Kane in a last man standing match. Let this match go on for 15-20 minutes, and Braun Strowman goes over Kane, and you've established him as a monster, and Braun Strowman is like, nobody's ready for Braun and whatever, and just gets on the mic and says like, I want a better challenge, and blah blah, and lights go out, lights come back on, Undertaker's right behind him, and Braun Strowman just like he's staring at Undertaker. Kane sits up, and now Braun Strowman kind of looks like, holy shit, now I've finally got a fucking challenge right in front of me. And then he goes for the clothesline, both guys duck, and then they hit him with a choke slam. And Undertaker says, I'll see you at the Royal Rumble. So Undertaker is going to be an entrant in the Royal Rumble. After that, we would have a concert with Elias. And, he's singing his songs, berating the fans, and blah, blah, blah. And if you smell, The Rock comes out. Rock comes out, runs to the ring, and does his shtick, back and forth with Elias a little bit, and finally, Elias goes to hit him with a guitar. Rock ducks, hits him with a rock bottom, does the people's elbow, and grabs the guitar and does a little diss track on Elias. Go on to the next segment, and it's Sasha Banks versus Alexa Bliss in a ladder match for the women's title. This is the first ever ladder match for the women, and Alexa Bliss is like, since it's no DQ, I got a special enforcer, and that's Nia Jax. Nia Jax comes out, and the whole idea being is that if Nia helps Alexa win, then she will get a future title shot. And Sasha's like, well, I've got friends of my own, and Lita and Trish come out. And there would be moments where Nia would try to interfere, and then Trish and Lita would double team her, does like a double suplex, Lita does her moonsault, and finally Sasha Banks grabs the belt, and she's the new women's champion. The main event, a match that a lot of people wanted, a reunion that everybody wanted to see, The Shield. And The Shield would main event this show. It's going to be The Shield against Samoa Joe, Cesaro, and Sheamus. Big main event that's been hyped up for a couple of weeks. The match that we were supposed to get for TLC, the Shield reunion, we get it here at the Raw 25th anniversary with a special caveat, and that is Stone Cold as a special enforcer, so that nobody would interfere. Because we've had Miz interfere in past matches. We've had Bo Dallas and Curtis Axel and Braun Strowman. So now Stone Cold's special enforcer. Shield would go over Joe, Cesaro, and Sheamus, of course. And the whole idea being is that the Shield will face Brock Lesnar, in a four-way. It's going to be Roman Reigns, Rollins, and Ambrose, and Brock Lesnar at Royal Rumble for the Universal Championship. That's going to be the main event of that show. And so, can they coexist? That's the whole idea being of this for the main event. And Shield would go over, and then afterwards, as soon as they go over after a grueling match, Brock Lesnar would come out. As Brock Lesnar is coming out, and Stone Cold is about to leave, they have like a little stare down, like, harkening back to WrestleMania 32. And Brock Lesnar runs to the ring. He attacks Roman Reigns, and then Rollins and Ambrose, attack Brock Lesnar. And then, Roman, beats up Brock Lesnar back until finally, like, the Shield would do the triple power bomb, do their finishers first, and then do the triple power bomb on Brock Lesnar and standing tall. And the Universal title is right there, and they're doing their Shield fist bump, and then they look at the title, and then they look at themselves, and like it's like, holy shit, we're gonna, this is might be the Shield right now, but at Royal Rumble it's every man for himself. And Brock Lesnar is like grabbing hold of his championship in the corner while he's like selling the beating. And Paul Heyman's like, holy shit, this might be the last time that Brock Lesnar is Universal Champion. And of course, at the end, you can do something off air, where and you can upload it to like the WWE YouTube channel, where the Shield and Stone Cold would do like a beer bash, and that's how you would go off the air. That would be Raw for me. What do you think?
Pretty good show. I do like the fact that you actually had a Shield match in the main event,
Mm-hmm.
which was cool. I like the fact that you had the Raw Women's title in a ladder match as well. But I do have to make a correction there. You did say it would be the first time the women would be in a ladder match. Well, there was when they did the Money in the thing. But then again, I wouldn't blame you for not remembering it.
Well, yeah, I know, but I thought that was like way too rushed. Like, okay, you need to walk before you can run. You need to have like a ladder match first, then you would have a Money in the Bank. So.
Yeah, I get what you mean. But I like the beat the clock stuff too. You also added stuff to build into the pay-per-view 6 days later, which is nice. But the Shield versus the Shield and Lesnar in a four-way Rumble sounds interesting. So I give it a thumbs up show.
Yeah.
I like it.
Yeah. So I thought your show was also well. So. I think like for anybody that's listening to this, just let us know who had the better show, and yeah, I would really like to do more of this, like maybe somewhere down the line where we could do more rebooking stuff, because this was a lot of fun, and I think that if the actual 25th anniversary is anywhere near to the stuff that we just booked, I think it's going to be a very amazing show. So. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
So I guess that's pretty much it. You got anything to plug?
Well, what to plug? Well, obviously my YouTube channel, Wrestling Express, all in one word. I know there's a couple of channels that have the same name as I do. Does my channel, but you have to have it, Wrestling Express, all in one word. Follow my Facebook page, The Wrestling Express page. I made it recently because my other one, which was the Mark Studio page, have X amount of followers, but the problem was I couldn't change my name. Tried it 3 or 4 times, but I said, you know what, just I'm just gonna have to make a new Facebook page, even if it takes like 3 years to get the same amount of followers I have now. But you can follow both. My Instagram account at Mark Studios 2017, and also Twitter if you want to go into that. I don't even use Twitter. I just post my videos on there, but at stageman_2014. But that's basically it. So yeah.
So this was a lot of fun, and rate, comment, favorite, how, please subscribe, and share with your friends, share with everybody, and check out our next video. We'll be talking about something else.